Okay, so I want to end the episode today with talking about a conspiracy theory that I love. So, this conspiracy theory that we're going to get into is the concept that celebrities get mentally stuck at the age they got famous. There's this whole concept and this whole theory that something happens to a celebrity's psyche where they get forever trapped and are unable to develop past the age in which they first experienced life-changing fame. Not just a little fame. Their whole life has to change. Something about becoming so famous throws these celebrities for a loop. And what really inspired this was two things. The first thing that inspired this was Taylor Swift in her documentary, Miss Americana, that she put out a few years ago, where at the end of the documentary, she says, and I quote, "There's this thing people say about celebrities, that they're frozen at the age they got famous. I had a lot of growing up to do, just trying to catch up to the age of 29. And I was like, whoa, she's so right. Because Taylor Swift does have that spirit of a teenage girl still. Like, she has that spirit of the teenage girl who's looking around for approval, looking to be homecoming queen or Miss America. The documentary was called Miss Americana. She clearly still has that psyche of just yearning for approval from maybe her elders or the more respected people around her. She wants to, it almost feels like she's stuck in that mindset of wanting to achieve something and wanting to get to the place where she saw her higher ups at and get to sit with them and be at the big kids table. But she doesn't understand she is the highest of the upper echelon. Like, she is Taylor Swift, but in her mind, she's still this pathological people pleaser teenage girl type. In the documentary, she was talking about how her whole moral code of life was, I want to be seen as a good girl who gets a pat on the back for when she is a nice, polite, agreeable young woman. And I do think she was trapped at that for a long time. Another example of this is, which is going to open so many people's eyes and make so much sense to this phenomenon, that Leonardo DiCaprio, as you know, he has the reputation for only dating women who are 25 or below. So as I turn 24 this year, this is my last chance to snag him. But he got worldwide famous at the age of 22 and 23-ish, because as those two movies that year were being put out that really catapulted him to world-renowned fame, like the Titanic and Romeo and Juliet. I don't know what the other one was, but that must have almost like stunted him when it came to connections he has with other people, and not to get to that age of ever wanting to settle down. And it just makes so much sense why he breaks up with people on their 25th birthday, unfortunately. And I'm happy we finally have an explanation for this, because I've never really heard an explanation for it in my whole life. Another example, I think, is Michael Jackson. He got famous at 5 years old because his family definitely forced him into this world and, thrust him into it against his own will. So he got famous at like 5 years old, and maybe that would explain why he wanted to be around kids so much. Not to bring up all the rumors and allegations, and not saying anything about anything, but obviously he loved kids and loved to spend time with kids. And maybe he just saw his childhood that was taken away from him, or he still saw himself as, like, he saw a part of himself in them and wanted to, like, care for them like he wished he was as a kid, and still doesn't let that go. And he can't, accept being this grown man and just spending time with grown people. He's just hanging out with the kids. That would definitely make sense for me. Something else that inspired this directly, like, this is where I had this idea. This week I was scrolling on Instagram Reels, and a video of Miranda Cosgrove comes up, and she got famous at 10 years old. Keep this in mind. It's this video of her saying, I've never been drunk before. And Josh Peck is like, why haven't you been drunk before? And she goes, I don't know. I truly have no good reason. I've never even been buzzed. I've sipped things before, but like 2 sips. She also said she's never smoked anything. And that almost made my blood run cold. I was like, Miranda Cosgrove is so weird. She's well into her 30s. She's not the young iCarly girl anymore, but she's acting like this kid who just is curious about drinking, but has never wanted to, like, take that step or grow into someone who drinks, because it is seen as like a big moment in a young kid's life and like a rite of passage to like finally drink and blah, blah, blah. And the fact that she just said, I've never had a good reason is so weird to me. That's like saying I've never had a good reason to like dance with my friends or go to a party. I guess you don't need a good reason to do anything, but maybe just like live life. I don't know. But a part of me immediately thought, oh my God, she's so mentally stuck at Nickelodeon. She so is. And she does only curse a little bit. As we know, she sometimes says, fuck. So other examples I think could be Kendall and Kylie Jenner. They got famous at like 9 and 10. You definitely don't have to develop much empathy or like sympathy for people in other situations in the world. Lots of affluenza going on, lots of insular vibes going on there. But when you can kind of just be in this childlike, carefree stance your whole life, you don't really have to. Another example is Paris Hilton. She talks like a child all the time. She has this, what she calls her baby voice, as if she wants to come off as this spring chicken all the time. Another example could be Britney Spears. Hers probably has a lot of factors to it, but even in her book, she says she feels like she was stuck in girlhood. And now this year, she can finally try to move on and find the woman in her. That was the title of her book. And I think a part of that definitely has to do with her team controlling her life and her dad controlling her life. That would stop your self-development if you can't make any decisions of yourself and step into womanhood. But I think it also has to do with the world just saw her as a teenage girl. So she wants to act like this young, sexy, adored, over super tight and hip young girl. And I think that's why she probably dances in thongs on her Instagram. She wants to kind of solicit people's lust for her as if she is still that young, sexy girl. I mean, and she is very sexy and young, but you know what I'm saying? In that kind of realm. In the sense that I think Justin Bieber is an example. He even said this in one of his documentaries. He was like, when you have immense fame and all this money, you can kind of do whatever you want with your life and act however you want. And he did that at 15. He also said performing for stadiums every night and having so many people lust and adore over him stunted his, like, it releases some hormones in your mind and like stunts your growth. That may explain why he dresses the way he does and acts the way he does with Hailey. Maybe that's why Hailey's always seen like coddling him and taking care of him in a way as if she's a mother figure. She also wants to become his manager. So it seems like he's just like looking for someone to take care of him as if a child. Obviously, another example could be Selena Gomez, famous at a very, very young age. And we know she definitely acts like a young girl sometimes with her middle school gossiping ways and the victim complex of it all. I think another important aspect of this, though, that plays into it, it's not just the celebrities forever trapped at the age they got famous and wanting to stay at that age because it's their peak and their glory. Also, the public plays a big role into it. And this made me open up to maybe I do this too and don't even realize it. The other side of this frozen in time thing that doesn't get talked about is that people freeze a celebrity at the point they first recognized them as famous. That benefits some celebrities who became famous in their 20s. It, on the flip side, really traps child and teenage stars where the audience can't let them go from where they first recognized them as famous, and they can't really see them as adults. This definitely would play into the example of Miley Cyrus, who sometimes will act like her younger teenage self, but will also do drastic things to try to not be frozen at where she first got famous, the whole Bangers era and the swinging naked on a wrecking ball. She almost like saw this conspiracy or this theory and tried to get ahead of it. Ooh, another example which I love is the Mariah Carey example. She puts every year on her birthday, she puts 12 on her birthday cake because she says she's eternally 12 and does not want to grow up. Yeah, she got famous at 20, but I feel like she is yearning for the carefree feeling of being younger than 20 because of what fame did to her and what her family and ex-husband has done to her. So I think there's more to the joke of her just being like, I'm eternally 12. Kanye West is another example. In the song No More Parties in LA, he calls himself a 38-year-old 8-year-old. While he didn't get famous at 8 years old, Kanye's personality always has come across as extremely boyish, immature. He has the grandiosity of a young man prior to their prefrontal cortex developing for sure. Johnny Depp is an example. Someone on Reddit said, Johnny Depp, we were talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at dinner because we are going to Disneyland next weekend, and my 11-year-old mentioned that the old guy from the movies is so cringy, emo, and annoying. I was worried he watched something about the trial on YouTube, but no, he saw Johnny Depp's Dior ad and made his opinions that he never grew up past his Edward Scissorhands days, and it shows. He's a great actor, but he never evolved past his dark and brooding persona that he was banking on so much when he was younger. That's why he can't let go of things like Pirates of the Caribbean. That makes sense. I think Ariana Grande could be an example too. I think people would say the ways in which she needs a relationship and is a relationship girl and cannot be single for more than 5 minutes is the keystone of someone who maybe be immature at a given moment. So I don't know. Maybe these celebrities are just living their lives and acting as you please, or they're stuck at the age they got famous. You just watched a clip from my podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and go to the full video here on YouTube or on Spotify to get the full tea, all the tea and nothing but the tea, as we do at Pop Culture University.